This is Local Legends, the podcast where West Michigan sports takes center stage. Hosted by three local voices who've lived and breathed area sports. Hutton, Oshnok, Bakita. High school football the way it's meant to be, covered by the experts who know it best. This is Local Legends. It's week one of the Local Legends podcast. Jason Hutton and Ryan Oshnok. Of course, Osh, you don't play till Friday night in your game against West Catholic, so no Northview game to talk about tonight, but just the Thursday night matchups of week one. I mean, it doesn't have to be West Michigan, around the state, whatever you want to talk about. Floor's open here. What jumped out at you from Thursday night?
I'm just looking at that Saline Rockford game, and just it's two heavyweights meeting in week one. Obviously, it was a fantastic game. And to see those two programs clash, I mean, they're teams that have met in the playoffs before, and obviously they used to play. Oh boy, I think it was in the mid 2010s. It was like 2017, 18, 19, right around there. But to see Kyle Short come back to Rockford, the former quarterback there, and get that win over at Rockford, I think that was big. I'm sure the crowd was outstanding. Sounded like it was kind of a back and forth game. But to me, that's the standout when you bring a team from the east side of the state over to the west side of the state and you're able to come out with a win. I thought that was a big wow factor for me.
Yeah, it's interesting. Kyle Short, of course, played quarterback at Rockford. He has coached against Rockford as an offensive coordinator at Hudsonville, but it's got to be different for him tonight to be in that stadium as the head coach of the opposing team, right? Like I guess you've probably never coached a game at Lakeview, but could you imagine what that would be like?
No, I just think like he's a young man who, and I call him young man. He's probably not young anymore, but because I remember when I was the defense coordinator at Ferris State, we recruited him pretty hard to try to go to Ferris, and Coach Anise really wanted him, but he said no, I'm going to Grand Valley, which I don't know, maybe he should have gone to Ferris, but whatever. When you're that young guy and you're coming back to your alma mater, I'm sure it's just a special feeling, right? And I think, I don't think, I mean, I think his resume speaks for himself, right? I mean, he was the coordinator when Bryce Underwood won that state championship as a freshman at Belleville, right? So I don't think he necessarily needs to prove anything to anybody, but when you go back, to your home and it's a place like Rockford that's tradition rich, and he's able to go in there and get a W. I guarantee you the Rockford community is proud of him, just like they're proud of Coach Cummings, right? I mean, I just think it's to me, it's what high school football is all about. It's about the storylines, right? It's about two proud towns coming together to clash and see who's going to be the better team on that given Friday night. And then at the end of the game, shaking hands and be like, you know what, man, that was an outstanding game. That to me is going to make both programs better. Right. And I know Rockford's 0-1. They don't want to be 0-1, but I know Coach Cummings is going to be, you know what? We're going to learn some things from that, and we're going to carry that on to OK Red play.
Yeah, you talk about the back and forth of that game. Based on what we can gather, I mean, neither of us were there. It was 21-7 Saline at one point. Rockford runs off 21 in a row. Rams had a 28-21 lead. I don't know if it was late third quarter, early fourth quarter, but in the second half of that game, Rockford led 28-21. Saline ties it, and then it's 28-28, and there's a safety. Right? I mean, that kind of ends up being the story of the game as Saline gets a safety in a 28-28 game. They do punch in a touchdown late to win 37-28. Remember, Cass Tech went to Rockford last year in week one. Rockford did win that one. And the schedule's tough for Rockford, but they're a good team. They'll bounce back. Saline certainly a top 10 team in the state in Division I.
Absolutely. I think they solidify themselves as a top 10 team in the state of Michigan. Again, when you look at Division I, mean, you look Cass Tech and Catholic Central and Davison, in my opinion, are that 1, 2, 3 right now. But a big win for Saline. I mean, I think that maybe even kind of jumps them into a top 5 type of team, right?
And we look around the OK Red. We had two huge OK Red, OK Green matchups tonight. Hudsonville wins the big one over Byron Center, 27-21. I don't think they trailed in that game, but a close game, a game that kind of lived up to it. And Hudsonville, with their new starters, talented classes that don't have a ton of varsity experience, that's a big win for Brent Sandy and company.
Absolutely. I mean, Byron Center plays for a Division II state championship last year, right? They're every bit as good as advertised, right? And we talk about Saline going to play Rockford, but the Byron Center and Hudsonville community being so close to each other, and probably is this their first ever matchup with one another?
No, they used to play. I did look into that. So
Okay.
91 was the last time they played. but they used to play a lot back when I think the OK Conference only had one division. They were both in it. So they used to play a lot in the 50s, 60s, 70s.
Gotcha. So they're kind of rekindling that rivalry, right? I mean, and I think we're doing the same thing at Northview as playing West Catholic. That was a rivalry for many, many years. So I think that it was probably an electric atmosphere, two really good teams, and for Coach Sandy to come away with a win, I think that speaks volumes of his program and how far he's really kind of elevated that thing. You watch the highlights, you see their offensive linemen coming off the ball. They're some good looking guys up front. And I know he's a big believer in platooning his guys. And we've talked to some coaches about that. That you know what, our offense and defensive lines are only going to go one way, and we're going to try to develop our offensive linemen and our defensive linemen in the trenches so they just play that one way so they can get better and better as the game goes on and as the season goes on. So very, very impressed by that victory for Hudsonville.
Yeah, Eagles 27-21 over Byron Center. All right. Muskegon, Granville. Granville wins 44-40. I mean, this has just become commonplace. These Granville games are just shootouts and highly entertaining. And they kind of held off Muskegon there late. And all Tank Terry did was go for 270 yards and 3 touchdowns.
I mean, they were kind of our pick to win the OK Red. And I mean, I think they're every bit as good as advertised, right? And I think that, yes, those high scoring games, again, as the defensive coordinator at Granville, you're doing the best you can to prepare for teams that don't run the offense that you see in practice every day, right? So it's tough, but at the same time, a win against the Muskegon Big Reds for Granville, I mean, that to me, that's a feather in their cap because Coach Fairfield has always got his guys ready. He's always got a great scheme defensively. Obviously, there was a bunch of big plays in the game, but again, in those big games, who do you turn to? Like the number one lesson in coaching, right, is when a big situation is happening, get the ball in your best player's hands. They got the ball in Tank Terry's hands, and he cashed the check. I mean, he was the guy today, and I mean, 200 and whatever yards. I mean, 2 long touchdown runs. I think there's an 85 yarder in there, 50 plus yarder there. He's everybody as good as advertised.
Jenison beats Kalamazoo Central 28-7. Grand Ledge beats West Ottawa 30-27. The other OK Red team, Grand Haven, beats Lakeshore 38-0. Great win for Andrew Biedenbender. And we're going to have him on this podcast tonight. We're excited about that.
Absolutely. And I think, that Grand Haven program just trying to take that next step, right? Trying to just get a little bit better than they were the year before. And I think that's a huge first win for Coach Beeds over there at Grand Haven.
All right, before we get to his interview, the OK Green goes 0-6 tonight, Osh. 0-6. This is a good conference, and I realized they had some tough games on the slate, but I didn't see 0-6 in the bingo card.
No, tough. And I think the game that stands out a little bit in that conference, if you look at in the OK Green, Forest Hills Northern, correct? Forest Hills Northern, Kennewa Hills. Week 1 last year, Forest Hills Northern pulls out a nail biter. This year, Kennewa Hills pulls out a really close game. It sounded like it came down to some special teams things at the end right there, and it sounds like Kennewa Hills kicked a field goal to win it, 31-28. Big win for Coach Fellows over there at Kennewa Hills. Kind of looking for that kind of program changing win and for them to get to that 1-0 start. I think that's big for Kennewa Hills.
Yeah, big game for Grayson Fellows. 2 rushing touchdowns, a passing touchdown. Riley Smith kicks the field goal with 17 seconds to go. Owen Ospo played well for Forest Hills Northern, but boy, 31-28. That's a huge win for Kennewa Hills. 5 of my top 10 teams lost tonight, including Forest Hills Northern. Just so you know, 3 of my top 10 don't play until Friday, including your Northview Wildcats. So quick math on that. I had 2 teams in my top 10 win tonight. I don't think that's good.
And I think they're all still really good teams.
Well, I was thinking about this. Like Mona Shore's losing to Grand Blanc while we're on this OK Green thing. Like I didn't see Grand Blanc's really good, despite what Jake Weingartz would have us believe. Like Grand Blanc's really good. But it was 28-7 at half. And like Mona Shore's is the one I think I have them 3. I think they're the one that's going to move the most. I look at Rockford at 6. They're in a tight ball game with a really good Saline team late. Muskegon I have at 7. They played my number 2 team right down to the wire. Like I'm not really punishing those teams, but Mona Shores to me is the one I'm probably moving back the most.
Yeah, and you look at Muskegon. I think Muskegon's going to get better and better as the year goes on. I think they kind of have that characteristic to them. and to me, taking a really good Granville team down to the wire, I think it speaks volumes of their program. And I think they're just taking that next step. I know they didn't make the playoffs last year. Tradition rich program, though. It's got some really good players, obviously great coaching staff. I look to see them. Yeah, with that's a close loss to a really good football team.
Are you at the Lowell East Grand Rapids game tonight? I was
I
shocked.
went to the
Lowell,
Lowell East Grand Rapids game. Yeah, and it was Lowell did a really nice job of kind of controlling the tempo of the game, if you will. There wasn't a ton of passing. Both teams kind of running a veer oriented offense. But Lowell did a really nice job of causing turnovers, right? And in week one, right, it's who's going to make the least amount of mistakes, right? And so they're able to force some turnovers, get some really good field position, and then punch it into the end zone when they get that opportunity. But I think Lowell looked really good. And when you look at the RCA, some of the top teams, we would say is, obviously Cedar Springs is going to be really good, but then Kenowa Hills and then Lowell right there. I think that's going to make for an interesting race in the RCA.
you did not mention the defending champion, a team that would not be crazy to say could repeat. Coopersville. The
You're right.
Broncos go down at home tonight to Ludington,
Mhm.
40-13. That's one I did not see coming.
No, I don't know if anybody saw that coming, but I will say this, right? Ludington has a quarterback who is very, very good. He's committed to Ferris State. Yes. I mean,
Yeah.
you're essentially our guru on this. But when you have a really good quarterback who can run the football, that's a huge difference maker, right? And I think, that probably really made the difference in the game, and having a dynamic athlete like that. And again, I mean, you can't write off Coopersville just because they have one loss. Haven't played anybody in the RCA just yet, but you look at that between Cedar Springs, and you look at Kenowa Hills, and you look at Coopersville, you look at Lowell. There's gonna be some really nice matchups in the RCA this year.
Cam Gunsel, the quarterback at Ludington, committed to Ferris. You know Tony loves his quarterbacks. He'll just take 20 quarterbacks every year, and he'll find a spot for him to play. He's playing for his dad. Is the head coach at Ludington. Stop me if you've heard that before. Forest Northern Kenmore Hills. I was going to ask you this. I was thinking about this with Coopersville. Obviously, you don't want to have a stinker, right? But if you have one, isn't week one probably the best time to have it?
Absolutely. That's the best time because, and a lot of good coaches will say this, like the biggest improvement for any football team is from game one to game two, right? And so if you can, and sometimes it's hard as a coach, but it's even harder as kids. You got to be able to be self-critical. You got to be able to watch the film, learn from the film, and then get better in week two. Because week one for a lot of these guys, they started freshman quarterback, right? First time he's ever played. And so, I mean, if he can take it from, if he can take just those baby steps from week one to week two, clean some things up, I still think Coopersville is going to be a really good football team.
I agree with you. All right. Anything else that jumped out to you from tonight from around the area? Holland Christian got a win over Allendale, 32-24. Spring Lake looked good against their rival Fruitport. My Belding Black Knights scored 57 unanswered to beat Ionia tonight. So listen, this is what I want you to know is I'm a big uniform guy. Big. Like as a head coach of a varsity football team, how much do you care about the uniforms?
Me personally, zero, but every single athlete cares immensely. And yeah, I will say this: uniforms are very, very expensive. So if you've got some good fundraisers, that can make the difference. Saying a good or a great uniform.
Let me just tell you, Belding used to just be the old school orange pants, black jerseys at home, white jerseys on the road. But Monty Price has brought he's got them all, right? He's got orange, black, and white at all through all the levels, right? The pants and the jerseys, right?
Yeah.
But tonight, I love it because I'm old school 90s Belding guy, orange pants, black jersey with the traditional black helmet with the wings. Like that's the look right there. And that's how you win 63-7 is you wear that uniform.
What kind of wings do you call them? I mean, do you call them the Princeton wings or do you call them the Michigan wings?
I don't refer to them as either, but if you want me to pick one, I will take Princeton because I am not a fan of the University of Michigan.
I think that is the story, though. I mean, Princeton was the first one to have those wings.
Well, and I think the Belding story is Irv Sigler put those on there, and of course, Irv and Lloyd Carr were very close, and of course, Lloyd was coach of Michigan. So I do believe that's how that happened at Belding, but I could be wrong on that.
Could be. I don't know. Both Riverview High School graduates.
Correct. Yes. And so yeah, yeah, I don't know. Let's do our overreactions, right? So it's only 1 week. You've already made the statement. It's just 1 week. Like
Mm-hmm.
a lot can change. So what's our overreaction from week one? Here, I got two. For you. The
Okay.
OK, remember in the non-OK red silver, so the other four OK divisions, there's only 5 league games, right? So 6 teams times 4 non-conference games will be 24 non-league games. The OK green won't win a non-conference game. Of course, I don't believe that. But they're 0-6. Who saw it coming? And my second is Tank Terry. Tank Terry's going to rush for 3,000 yards this year. He's on pace, 270 tonight.
I'm definitely an overreaction. I don't know. Tank Terry's going to put up some serious stats this year. I really do believe that. Now he is playing a lot on defense as well. So I think that maybe they temper the carries a little bit as time goes on, but I don't know if that's an overreaction there. You know, he's going to have a lot of yards. Gosh, let me think about overreaction. You know, I think sometimes, you know, it's just week one, you lose a game. I mean, do the people of Rockford think like, oh my gosh, we lost in week one, we're going to struggle, right? Because I think Coach Cummings has lost how many league games in his tenure as head coach? Like 2 or something?
Well,
Or
they were
is it
both
1?
last year, correct?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable. So I think an overreaction would be like, oh my gosh, Rockford, you know, our hair's on fire. You know, things are wrong. I think it's a really good team. I think they're going to continue to improve as the year goes on.
Rockford is an interesting one because, as we've
Mhm,
talked about many times, this is not like Rockford usually won preseason, maybe 2.
mhm.
Nobody really has them in their top 5 this year, and so to start 0-1, but I think Rockford's going to be fine. I mean, in fact, I'll have the call next Friday night. They go to Hackley Stadium and play Muskegon, and my radio partner Tom Kenner and I were talking about this. Both teams are 0-1. They both lost tonight, and one of those two teams next week is going to start 0-2. That's a pretty good. They'll be a pretty good 0-2 team.
For sure. And if you look at Muskegon's schedule, right? I mean, they've got Rockford, and then they got to go into OK Green matchups, right? With obviously a really good Byron Center team. You've got Mona Shores and the crosstown rivalry. Still got to play Cincinnati Moeller. Again, if does anybody have a tougher schedule than Muskegon this year in the state?
Byron Center.
Byron Center. There you go. See, you tapped me out there.
It's pretty close.
Those teams are going to be battle tested for sure.
Well, and Byron Center's staring down the same. They're staring down the same thing because they're going to East Kentwood. They're playing East Kentwood next week, and we'll see what EK is all about. They play Friday night against Southfield, so it'll be interesting. All right, well, we're gonna have Andrew Biedenbender on. Let's go to that right now. His team, Grand Haven, got the big win today, 38-0 over Lakeshore. Big win for the Bucks tonight, Coach. 38-0 over Lakeshore. Just take us through it. How'd it feel? How'd you get it done?
Yeah, I think just a big thing for our program, for our community, it was the first ever Valor game. So we honored active foreign military first responders. So more than just a game tonight, we had a flyover, a helicopter flyover. So lots of cool things. I was a part of the committee. I think I told myself at 4 o'clock, I'm turning my phone off. I got to focus on football. But everything went without a snafu. But awesome night. Players came out. We had a lot of young guys starting for the first ever time. That Friday night or Thursday night jitters, that you get. But guys really showed up. Defense was swarming to the ball. We had 4 turnovers that we forced and played a pretty clean game on offense. And we took advantage when we needed to and came out with a big victory. And again, Grand Haven hasn't had a big win like that. I think since 2013 that's their biggest win since then. So felt good for us.
That's awesome. So you're going to year number 3, correct?
Correct. Yep. Year 3.
I mean, and I think about myself, and I've been in a number of different programs going into year 2, year 3, and you really want to start the year off with a bang, right? And it's like,
Yep.
Can we get the first win? If you get that first win, and I always make the analogy, man, the ball starts rolling down the hill a little bit.
That's right.
Take us through maybe a little bit of the preparation. How much pressure did you put on yourself? Did you put on the guys? Because I mean, it's inevitably going to happen. Tell us about your mentality going into the week.
Yeah, so I think year 1 and year 2, it's kind of catching your breath with things, especially being a first time head coach. Year 1, I don't even remember it. I think I was just trying to make sure that I was, staying afloat. Year 2, I think obviously we had some things rolling, but you want to continue to push our guys. And year 3, this is truly our team. We've been with them for a long time. I know the guys, they know me. Coolest thing about it, I met all those, juniors in the offseason. They're like, hey, it's time to really push us. Like, it was big relationship building those first 2 years. And they're like, Coach, it's time to go now. So pretty excited about that. Sorry, we got an alarm going off on our thing real quick. This is real life here, but but no, like it just again the pressure we put on them, they've really responded. They wanted to be to be that team and kind of be the ones to turn this thing around. And they've really kind of grabbed it by the horns with this offseason. And we've faced some adversity. Our running back didn't start tonight, and it was next man up. There was no panic, and our guys are really looking forward to it. But as a coach, it just felt good because I think all the hard work we're doing, because I think I was most nervous about today just because I felt like this is the time we're going to start turning the corner. I'm like, I just truly want to see the on the field victories, not just the off the field victories. I was, hey, you're doing such a good job in the community and all this stuff. I'm like, yeah, I want to start winning football games. So tonight felt good.
All right, help me out with something here, Coach. So I used to work in TV. This is very important to me, saying names right. So your running back, who you had to play without tonight, is a stud, Andrew
Williamson. Yep.
Yes. See
Not
that's
Williamson.
right, because that's how it's spelled. But everyone calls him Williamson. And I'm
yeah,
like,
it's
sure.
When I saw him the first time, I was like, "It's Williamson." He goes, "No, it's Williamson." I'm like, "Okay, we'll make sure." Just call him Andrew.
So so not having him tonight. I mean, first of all, just emotionally, how difficult is that? And then how proud are you of the way everybody stepped up?
Yeah, that was tough. He got hurt in the scrimmage last week, and when it happened, it was one of those like, shoot, you as a coach, you kind of can kick yourself for it because it's a scrimmage. You never want someone to get hurt, but didn't think it was anything too serious, and we thought he'd be progressing. And then middle of the week, it was like, hey, I don't know what's going to happen. So felt bad for the kid. Obviously, he's worked his tail off and really wanted to kind of show the world what he's done this offseason. He had a great track season. He's like, I'm ready to kind of prove it. Last year against Lakeshore, he had 280 yards rushing. So, and he was 13 yards away from breaking the school record. So I think he had some accolades that he was looking to go after. So I felt bad for the kid as soon as he found out he couldn't play. But the coolest thing about it is our guys did not flinch at all. I met with our leaders on Wednesday, and I was like, hey, Andrew's not going. And they're like, we're good. And I'm like, oh, because I thought I had to have this meeting to kind of like get everyone to calm down a little bit. We actually had a speaker come, Damon West. His big thing is be a coffee bean. And it was pretty cool. It happened the 2 days before we found out Andrew wasn't playing. And I was like, hey, we got three options. We can become soft, we can become upset and just complain, or we can just elevate ourselves and elevate the people around us. And that's what they did tonight. Obviously, they all care about Andrew and want him out there too, but there was really no panic, which again, I think shows some maturity with the program that we're trying to build.
Walk us through the game a little bit right here. How did it go in the first half, second quarter? What was the score at halftime? Yeah. Kind of walk us through what happened in the game.
Yeah, so we wanted to get the ball actually to start, so we were kind of shocked that they took the ball. So they got it right away. We they got one first down, and we got the ball right back, and we went right down the field and drove the ball, run the football, scored on a 24 or 30-yard kind of jet sweep by one of our receivers, Amani Frierson, he's a stud. He's a junior, 6'2", 180. He's got potential to be something special. We had Will Krenster last year, and I think he's, no offense to Will, but this guy, he's got the it factor. So we went up 7-0, get the ball back, or they get the ball, get a stop. We go score again the first quarter. I think it's 14-0. We drive down, kick a field goal, 17. I think it was 31-0 though at halftime. We were able to, those hidden 4 minutes, you know what I'm talking about. They got the ball with 2 minutes and 35 seconds left. We had 2 timeouts left. We got the stop. We get the ball. We get on and score. So that just felt really good because last year that we got outscored, I think 14-70 in those hidden 4 minutes, and that was a big thing for us. We were able to get the points before half. We got the ball after halftime. That was our only 3 and out. The defense stepped up. They had 4 turnovers. We had 3 fumble recoveries and interceptions. So again, pretty complete game of football. We have a kicker who's never kicked before, a big soccer player for us. Came out, hit a 30-yarder, hit all his extra points. So kind of all facets of the game, we felt pretty good.
Sounds like it sounds like you guys doing pretty well up front. I mean, I think when you're trying to build a team to win to be competitive and win in the OK Red, not to say win the OK Red, but obviously that's everybody's goal, but like to be competitive in the OK Red, you got to run the football. I don't care who you are. I don't think anyone could come in and say, I'm going to be some air raid team and win the OK Red.
Yeah, you're speaking my language, former offensive lineman here. That's right.
Well, it sounds like you're developing some offensive linemen. You're able to get the ball to some speed guys in space.
Yeah.
Talk about that a little bit there.
I think that was the big thing when we knew we lost Andrew for the week. It was one of those, like, we have 4 returning starters, 2 guys who have played 3 years down there. Carson Hardy he just committed to Grand Valley. So that was another thing, is like, we know we have a group that can block for anybody back there, and that's their mentality too. They're like, we don't care who the running back is. We're going to create some big holes. And again, with the different dynamic of the quarterback run game, the running back run game, and our receivers being able to be included too, it's kind of it's kind of by committee. And so with Andrew back there, obviously it's nice to have that all-state guy. You don't want to lose a guy like that, but to be able to spread the carries around and get the ball in different spots, it puts a lot of pressure on a defense. But that is where we've really tried to develop. And Grand Haven's had some great linemen in the past, but it's usually been, one or two, here or there. But you talk about the OK Red. I mean, the nicest thing about it, we had 0 offensive linemen play defensive line tonight. Like 0 starting offensive linemen play defensive line. And that's huge. That's in the last 2 years, we've had all those guys are going both ways. Third quarter, they're just, they're licking their chops, or they're dead out there. You're just trying to get them out there. But we had like 6 defensive linemen rotating in, and not a lot of two-way guys. A couple guys, are getting some reps, but up front, it's pretty much two platoon.
And you put up a 0.
Yes.
How good was the defense tonight?
They were awesome. And the coolest thing about it is in these games, we haven't experienced this at Grand Haven in a while. But usually you're in those games, you're trying to get all those extra kids in like late when you're usually down. But we're in the advantage that we're doing it when we're up, and those guys kept the 0 on the scoreboard. So that's pretty cool to see when you're getting your seconds and thirds in, and they're still stopping some of their starters, still doing our defense, still doing our scheme and stuff, and still having that pride to make sure they're staying out of the end zone.
Wow, that's phenomenal. So school start in Grand Haven already?
We did not. We got out in June 13th. So we had a very short summer as a football coach. But the nice thing about it this week was all just football, and we don't have to worry about starting school till Tuesday. So that was the nice thing for us.
Who you got next week?
Traverse City West, who just got off the phone with their coach. They had a tough one against Howell tonight. But of course, Howell's a great team. That was a tough game for us. My first year, that was our only victory. And then last year it was a close, 10-point loss. We lost to them. They got that Drew Esper kid who's going to CMU. He's the real deal. He single-handedly beat us last year. Had 2 touchdown catches, 2 fake punts. He led their team in tackles. So he'll be back. He's kind of their every down player. He just can kind of do everything. But the thing is, we're a little bit, we want some revenge on that when they held the ball the entire fourth quarter. And you talk about offensive linemen who likes to run the ball, as a guy, if a team can hold the ball the entire fourth quarter, we got to make sure that we can get a team off the field.
Yeah. What do you got to do? I mean, obviously, you win game 1, and then, you got game 2 right now. And I know how you're feeling right now. It's more of a sense of relief, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Than jubilation, if we will. It's like the ultimate sense of relief.
Correct.
Oh, got the week 1 W. As you start, and you're just like every other ball coach, man, you start thinking about week 2 and Traverse City West. And like you said, they got you last year. Is there a different way that you're going to kind of take on this task in week 2? Is there, and obviously they played Howell in week 1, so it's going to be a little bit challenging for you as an offensive guy to see what exactly are they going to run on defense, right? You can be able to see some personnel.
Yeah.
But, funny story. I actually saw Howell's coach on my family trip to Mackinac Island, and he was like, "Hey, we signed Traverse City West to play before they knew we were a tight T team. They probably won't play us anymore after that." You know how all that works. But,
yeah. Oh yeah.
So as you're prepping for Traverse City West, or as just right now, kind of some thoughts, obviously, because I like you said, you're a ball coach. What going into week 2, how's the mentality going to change a little bit from last year to this year for you?
Yeah, so you can see why I'm still awake. I already sent the exchange film. That's why I'm up doing this stuff right now. Because my mind's already moving forward again. The 24-hour rule. I'm extremely excited again for our program, for our community, for our players. But I want to make sure again it's not just a flash in the pan. We've had some success in these first couple of games, but to get to 2-0 would be a big thing for us. And I think we're determined as a coaching staff to make sure we move forward. We talked to our guys about it tonight. And that's the cool thing. The entire offseason they never looked ahead, because I think, as a program like ours, and I'm sure then you look at the schedule, people start looking at, oh, that's a win, that's a loss. You can't do that. And I think the good teams, when I was at Grand Valley, we never looked at the schedule and go, okay, what's our record going to be? You just went out there and played and knew you're going to do your best and go win a football game. And the best teams do that. So we try to tell our guys, you can't look at the record. You can't look at the schedule. You just got to go out there and play football. And we did that week 1. And now we got to go get a chance to do it to week 2. And I think the added little bit of, hunger that a team that beat us last year that we feel like we should have beat, and a team that I think we underestimated last year. That's a big thing for us. And as a coach, again, I'm going to take the night to start watching some film as soon as the Traverse City, I guess, just sent their request. So I'll look at ours real quick, fix a couple of things. And then this weekend, it's nice that we got a couple extra days to work on it, but Going to get going on Traverse City already. And yeah, you talk about not getting anything from Howell. I think they went against Granville in a scrimmage too. So I'm like, we get all these wing T teams. Like, what the heck? The same with Lakeshore. They played Dowagiac, Edwardsburg, and Thornville Kellogg. It's all Veer. So I'm like, I don't know what they're going to come out in. We thought there'd be a 4-3 the entire time. They come out 3-3 stack today. I'm like, okay, here we go. And you think you get stuff from JV film, and that they come out a completely different defense. But it's all good. Our guys reacted to it well. We were good.
Sometimes though, I mean, you start to focus on who you are as opposed to who they are, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, hey, we need to take care of what we're doing and maybe dictate what the defense is going to do to us, right? I mean, let's get at what we do, focus on what we do, and not necessarily worry about what they're going to run.
Well, that was the coolest thing. Like, you talk about, the guys being able to react. Like, we practiced all week for a 4-3 just because that's all we saw last year. That's what we saw at the lower levels. And we saw them come out in 4 down again, in the scrimmage. I know it's against Beer team, and they came right out in a 3-3 sack. And usually, inexperienced linemen are like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. But our guys did not skip a beat. But the entire offseason and entire camp, we worked all different things. And we told our defensive coordinator, give us every single look you can give us. And our guys knew how to block everything. So they came out and we're like, okay, we're good to go. And that's, again, how you got an experienced group up front. That helps a lot, because for the receivers and stuff, it doesn't mean a ton for them. I mean, their blocking changes a little bit, but you can kind of talk through that through. But for up front, those rules and those assignments change. And those guys, immediately we're like, all right, we're ready to go. And so that's when I knew, I'm like, we're going to be okay. We're going to be okay.
All right. So a couple things here. We're recording this a little after midnight.
Yeah.
So we're all up late here.
Yeah.
You have a newborn, right?
Yeah, 2-week-old right now. I guess she came for the first 3 quarters, so I'm impressed. So
Nice.
that's props to my wife and my in-laws and my parents. Yeah, I think I've seen her probably awake for only a little bit for these first 2 weeks, but she came right before the season started on August 7th, which was nice.
So what are you normally doing here on a night after a game? You're always up. You're talking. You're doing the tape exchange with your next head coach. Like, how late do you stay up? Because Ash is telling me he's up till like 3 a.m. after a game.
Yeah, I mean, I don't usually sleep very well the night before. So, but now it's a little bit of adrenaline. It's usually adrenaline or just like frustration that's keeping you awake. So I usually don't sleep again till probably Friday night, Saturday night. But again, it's just kind of, that's what you experience. And you kind of just, that's part of the whole deal. As a player, I was the same way. I was always at Grand Valley. Was weird we'd play games at 7:00 on Saturday night, and I'd go to church at 9:00 in the morning on Sunday, but I had to be there at 7:00 in the morning to watch film, because I couldn't do anything else until I watched the game film. So I'm kind of obsessive about that kind of stuff. I guess I'm kind of weird, kind of a little bit of a nerd about it, but it's just important for me, I think, so I can kind of put some of those, what happened there, because you know what happens in a game, but then you actually go back and relive it when you're watching film, because you miss some things. You're in the heat of the moment trying to make calls, trying to make decisions, but then you watch on film, like, oh yeah, that happened. Or you're looking to see how did this player that you haven't seen play in a game yet, how did he react? Was he physical enough? Did he do what we asked him to do? And that's the cool thing, to kind of look back and reflect and see some of the awesome things your players did, but also point out a couple of things that we can get better at. And hopefully, again, week 1 to week 2 is usually the biggest jump as a team.
Absolutely. And it's like, Jason, we're talking to a seasoned coach here, and he's going into 3rd year as a head coach.
I don't know about that.
Think about this though. Think about in my opinion, I think you've been blessed by the people that you've worked with, right?
Yes.
So if you go, or you played for Chuck Martin at
Chuck Martin and then Matt Mitchell. Yep.
Chuck Martin, Matt Mitchell, right? 2 great football coaches. Then he goes.
Watching them go at it right now, Wisconsin and Miami, Ohio. So.
There you go. And then Jason McIntyre, who I think is one of the most unbelievable offensive minds in the state of Michigan, and I'm sure he's like you in terms of staying up all night. I every time I've seen him, I've talked to him on a Zoom. He's in his office.
That guy's stressed.
Right? Yeah. And then you get to go work for Pat Collins, who's won multiple state championships.
Almost worked for you.
I almost.
That's right.
We were close.
We were close.
But I think as you go into year 3, you sound like a veteran coach who's been coaching for 20 years as a head coach. I mean, I don't know. Just kind of reflect back that is it special when you think about who you've played for, who you've worked for, and you're still in this profession, you're still doing it. You're like those guys now.
Yeah, extremely blessed. I mean, I'm 35 years old, but sometimes I feel like I'm 50. Based on, first off, how my body feels, but also just, some of the stresses of coaching. But no, extremely blessed. I mean, you said working with Jason McIntyre, I got to play for him and I got to coach with him. And That guy is extremely intense, and I learned the preparation and just how he organizes things. That guy is detailed, and he'll let you know, like, when you're a coach for him, it's like you're a player for him. Like, you are expected to do everything perfect. I remember we played Bay City Central. We won 49-7. We ran for over 400 yards. I'm the offensive line coach and running game coordinator, and I felt like we lost by 35 just because he wants perfection. And I think that's been a cool thing, again, because my preparation, my organization, how we practice and how we, lay out plans, it's because of Jason McIntyre. And it's cool. I text him tonight because they got the big victory too. He's excited for me. And then Pat Collins, you talk about, just a guy what I learned about him is he's the CEO. And I think that's something that, Jason kind of was in charge of when he was at Mount Pleasant. So I never had to see that aspect of it, but Pat let me kind of work with him behind the scenes of what it takes to run a big program. And Pat is so good at dealing with people, dealing with all the levels. And so, again, I feel like I'm a kind of disciple of those two and a good mixture of those two, but those guys are always, there for me if I need them. We still bounce back and forth in conversation. I still get to see Pat week 5. So that's always a little awkward. It's like facing big brother. But no, those guys have, I wouldn't be the coach for it. I am today without those guys.
Hey, I'll see you there week 5. We're calling that game
That's
on.
right. I know you are. I'm excited for that.
Yeah,
Get to go back to the big house over there.
I've actually not been to a game there. I've been to the stadium, but I've been to a game there. So
it is something special.
Yeah.
But the last time I went there, we lost 38-6 in the monsoon when I was my first year at Grand Haven. So I'm looking to have a little better time there. So
take me through your journey a little bit. So you went to Mount Pleasant High School, right?
Correct. Yeah.
And then you coached there after your playing days. So was the jump Mount Pleasant to West Ottawa, and what led you to that?
Yeah, so it was actually right at Grand Valley. Went to Owasso High School for 1 year. Got to coach there. Coach offensive line and DBs. Talk about a strange combination there. So I've never. That was those are two different just people to deal with, like mindset wise. So worked with them for a year. Then I was able to go back with Jason. Was kind of associate head coach with him. Went through a divorce, so some family issues, but I wanted to get back to the West Side and actually reached out to Coach Ash and to see if there was any openings because I was looking in the area. And then he took the Northview job and Pat took the West Ottawa job. And it was just kind of me cold calling some coaches. And Pat was, generous enough. He actually hired me to be the JV running backs coach. And weird thing, at the same time, Peter Stursma called me. He's like, "Hey, I want you to be the offensive line coach at Hope College." I was like, "Pat, I'm sorry, I got to take this one." Well, West Ottawa was paying my bills with the teaching job. So like, "No, you're going to come back." And within 2 weeks, I was the offensive coordinator, associate head coach. So that's kind of how we got there. And, I didn't really have any plans to leave West Ottawa. My wife and I were very happy there. She actually still teaches there. But it was one of those things we actually talked, and I'm like, I don't think I'd ever leave this place unless a place like Grand Haven would open. 2 days later, Mike Farley resigns and that opens up. And I'm like, whoa, that's kind of a hint. And Jason Reineke, the assistant superintendent here, was the principal who hired me at West Ottawa, and he reached out and we kind of talked about it. And Matt Knobber, our offensive coordinator, who I taught with at West Ottawa, his kids went to Grand Haven, and kind of was a package deal to get him over there with me. So it's been an awesome transition. We live 3 miles from the high school now, and we absolutely love it. We walk down by the boardwalk all the time. So it's been a good move for our family.
Man, that's I mean, I love hearing those stories. I've got stories like that. And I remember Jason, Andrew was emailing everybody to get to the west side of the state. And it reminded me when I was trying to get my first job, I just sent emails out all over the country, right?
You don't hear back from many. You were one of the first ones to send something back. Thank you.
Every time I get one of those, and I was fortunate enough this year. I've got a guy working with me. His name's Riley Clare. He played at St. Joe High School and he was coaching at St. Joe. He's a student at Grand Valley, but he did the same thing and he started sending that stuff out. And I was one of the first to reply. I'm like, you know what, man? I was in those shoes at one point in time. I got to try to help these people out, right? And he's been an unbelievable addition to our coaching staff.
Yeah.
So I mean, you got to. I appreciate the go-getters. I appreciate the mentalities like you have. I love what you're doing from afar here. Obviously, I don't get a chance to see you guys on Friday night, but I do get the chance to see some of the film and just know that I am stealing things from you and Coach Knobber. I absolutely.
He still calls a couple of things the same as you guys used to call back in the day. We were talking about you this week. It was good. Good stuff.
Awesome.
Good stuff.
That's awesome. Hopefully, you still call 3x1 Roy and Lucy.
We do. Same stuff. We call it Crandall, all that stuff. Yeah. Same calls.
I love it, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. I want to ask you more about your football team here. One thing that's interesting to me, your quarterback situation, right? Like you guys have a sophomore who has a Toledo offer.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody, I think, just kind of assumes, well, that's Grand Haven's quarterback, but
Yep.
he's not your starting quarterback. So tell me about that situation, and then just the way that you had play at quarterback tonight.
Yeah, so it's the whole recruiting process is crazy now. I think I was in it. 15 years ago, I played college football, and it's changed even in those 15 years. So that's been the biggest thing for me. So I'm sure Ash, you can say the same stuff. Like it's just different than when the ages are getting these kids, the age they're talking to these kids, and Reed Berry's an incredible talent. He got a lot of potential. He's got the frame. He's got 6'5" frame. So he has every intangible, I think, to be a big time college quarterback. And I think a lot of schools look at that and they see that and they say, hey, you can't teach that. You can't teach 6'5". You can teach and coach a lot of things, but you can't coach those things. So he was able to get a lot of attention from that. And again, he's got a lot of potential to be something great. But Easton Hintz, who again, nobody really knows until tonight, he's one of those program kids that when I got hired, he was an 8th grader, going to be a freshman. And I watched film like, holy cow. He was handing off to Andrew Williamson back in 8th grade, and then KV Krenster, our slot receiver, and those guys were getting all the attention because they're the track stars too. And I'm like, who's this kid? So he's a lefty quarterback. Again, he's just got that savviness to him. Like tonight, you could see his decision making, but his ability to run the football. He had a 73-yard touchdown run today, and that's something that in my 2 years here, we really haven't had a quarterback with that dynamic ability to run the football. And as you guys know, I mean, that's a huge thing for a defense. When you're trying to, again, if you're just handing it off to number 20 Williamson, 30, 40 times a game, that's easy to kind of load the box with 8 people. But if you have to worry about a quarterback pulling it, and like today going 73 yards, that's a huge dynamic change for us. So it's been a juggling act. You got to make sure again that you're making sure the development of Reed is still happening, but also knowing that, telling Easton, hey, you're still our guy, because you guys know social media is out there. So as soon as Reed got that offer, I called East in the office. I'm like, hey, you're still the person that we, think you are. Like, you got to build him up, but also, congratulate Reed on that amazing stuff. So, it's whole part of relationship building, making sure that those kids know that they're a part of our program, that they're going to be a part of our program. And it's how cool it is for us that we got 2 guys at that position that are close to each other in years, but can still help us win football games. And it was cool. Reed got in tonight still. We were up in a game where we were able to still get him some reps, to get him, he was pretty nervous when he got out there today. Again, he's got that sophomore in him to get those, sophomore, nerves out, but pretty cool to get both those guys in.
I think back to, I'm a little bit older than you. So when I was playing at Wayne State, I remember there was a 2 quarterback system going on at Saginaw Valley.
Yeah.
And, Matt LaFleur, who's now the head coach for Green Bay. Yeah.
I know him very well.
Yes. And so he was the starting quarterback, and we were playing against him. I was defense back at Wayne State, but they had another quarterback named Mark Radlinski, who lives in the West Side. And they said, hey, man, Mark, no matter what, you're our, and Mark was kind of sort of a big time recruit back then.
Yeah.
You know what, man, you're going to get the first series of the second quarter. And he always got it. And I thought that was really cool. I've not necessarily been in your position where I have a younger guy that has a Division I offer like that. But that always stuck in the back of my head when I talked to Mark about that. He's like, you know what? It was really cool. It was an opportunity for me to get on the field. And I appreciate the way that you're handling that. And I think that it's tough as high school coaches with these kids. Like, they get offers and sometimes you don't even know about it. You're like, what? And so you get a text from somebody, hey, this guy just got an offer. I'm like, wait.
I know. Yeah.
Okay. Like,
I guess you want to call us.
Yeah. One would think like maybe the coach would want to come. And I'm not saying that's how that situation was, but I'm just, it's that's the world of recruiting right now. And I feel like everyone's just trying to be a little bit faster than the next guy, right? Like, I want to be that first. And if I was the first offer and then I get a bigger job than this job, and this kid blows up, like, hey, remember, how was your first offer?
Yeah. Well, I think the hardest thing too is reminding the rest of your program, because then I think the anxiousness of like, well, do I need to be doing what? I'm like, no, guys, you got to remember, again, it's all at everyone's pace. If you're meant to be seen, you're going to be seen. You just got to go out and do your thing. I think that's the thing, the constant reminder. Again, I think that was the cool thing for me tonight, is to remember the stress of that recruiting stuff is off your mind now. Now we go ball out and everything will get taken care of. I think that's what our guys are truly focused on. They're not worried about, making their highlight film right now. I'm sure they're going to go out and do it after tonight when they see the film, but tonight they're focused
on the film right now. I guarantee you those
stars. I was going to say 9 minutes of watching film. That's not from just watching, they're finding their place. But no, but those guys, again, I think understand that. And I keep trying to preach, like, they'll find you. And if we do the right thing as a team, again, we're going to make sure that you're going to get noticed. So.
Right.
Coach, you talked about a little bit about Amari Frierson, who had a nice game for you tonight. You brought up KV Cornstra, who's a sophomore or junior,
Yep.
who's I believe really good. And then how about Colin Munford? I've heard great things about him. I saw you guys the 7-on-7 at Hope. Like
power strength guys.
that's
Hey,
I'm a little biased.
that's
So,
all right.
tell me about those guys. I mean, it sounds like your skills are really good.
Yeah, so we're blessed with 4 or 5 good skill guys. KV Krenster played for us last year, and then he's on that track team that was second in the state. Colin Munford played receiver for us last year, and he's kind of one of those utility guys. I think hard part for Colin, again, we talk about being unselfish. He would be an incredible X receiver a lot of places, but we need him to play defensive back. And he has taken that, and I think the first week or two, when we talk about in the offseason, he's like, Coach, I'm like, you're still going to get your touches when we need them. But this team to be successful, you got to play corner for us. And he had an incredible camp, had an incredible night tonight. And he's got that mindset. You know what? Corners, they have that little bit of mindset, a little bit of moxie to him. And he's got that. And I think he also knows, he sees, Monty Frierson is a dude and can go make plays. And then Samir Konda is another junior basketball player. We got these basketball players walking around that are, freak athletes. And we've got 2 guys in the edge who are 6'2", 180 pounds. And then we got KV, who's this, 4'4" guy. So we've got a lot of options. And then Colin was on that track team too as a long jumper. So a lot of good athletes. Again, when you talk about Andrew Williamson going down, it hurts bad. We want that. But when you can get touches out of all these other guys, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I think that's good stuff. Now, looking around the red from today, obviously, you're like everybody else, just kind of score watching. Did anything jump out at you from the OK Red scores today?
Well, I talk about the schedule. Holy cow. That was some big time matchups. I think I wish I could have got to go to see some of those games. Like look at that Hudsonville Byron Center game. I can't imagine how many people were at that game.
Yeah.
But
did a red team lose today at all?
Rockford lost to Saline.
Oh, that's right. Rockford.
Yeah. But West Ottawa, that was a close game too. So, there's the scheduling that happens in our conference. There's no one really afraid but you can see there's different times, different programs when everyone's trying to do their own thing. But there's going to be, I think the cool thing about it, just like last year, there could be upsets, and I don't think many coaches are going to be surprised. Every single week's going to be a dogfight. Our goal again is to be in the game in fourth quarters and see what can happen. You're going to go against the best coaches, the best players, some of the deepest teams. And that's what makes it fun. I think when I took this job, some people are like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, I want to play against the best. When you're at Mount Pleasant, no offense to Mount Pleasant, but there's 4 games in the schedule you got to get up for. And that's it. And then you get to playoffs, and sometimes it's like you haven't seen that caliber. Here, you got to get up for every single game. And that is awesome. You get to go against the best people in the coolest environments. You got 7,000 to 8,000 people at some of your games. Again, you don't get that sometimes at D2 football. So that's the thing I try to tell our guys. You guys are blessed. You get to go coolest places, coolest venues, best teams, best coaches, and it's going to be fun all the time.
All right, I got a Mount Pleasant question for you here.
Go Oilers.
So I went to CMU, so I'm familiar with Mount Pleasant.
Yep.
So Mount Pleasant doesn't look anything like it. I graduated from CMU in 2004. It doesn't look anything like it did 20 years ago. Nothing like it. And I had spent several years of not being in Mount Pleasant, and now my kids are playing baseball in the summer, and we've been to Mount Pleasant a couple of times the last couple of summers.
It's changing.
It's changing. What's your favorite? What's your go-to when you're in Mount Pleasant? Where are you going to eat?
Freddy's Burgers.
Freddy's.
You got to go to Freddy's. Oh yeah. Freddy's Burgers, they got awesome. It's again, when you walk in there, you're like, oh, okay, I don't know what I'm getting into. But the burgers over there, I taught at the middle school for 6 years, and it was literally like a block away. So that's when we had PD days, or I want to go out and get something for lunch, you go to Freddy's.
I'm a John's Country Burgers guy. I love.
That's not bad either. I grew up across from the high school, and I still drove my car to school every single day. I was that guy. That's a lineman in you.
When I was a graduate assistant at CMU for 1 semester.
Okay.
1 semester. So
who was the coach?
It was Butch Jones's last year. So in 2009. So on that team, we had Dan Lefevre, Antonio Brown. Yeah, I mean we had some guys. Paris, Brian Anderson. Yes, went down to Michigan State. Yeah, so we would always take recruits to eat. It was funny at O'Kelly's.
That place is not that now to go watch a game.
Yeah.
Like on a Sunday, they've got all the screens up. That place was sweet.
The food was fantastic. I mean, the environment was it was great. Yeah.
I think as a high school kid, you're kind of trained to stay away from all the college joints. So that was one of those things. I think it was one of those, like, you stay away from that. There's the college places and there's the high school places. And
Right.
Kelly's one of those places the college guys would go to.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, Jason, we got anything else?
I don't know. No, this has been great. I mean, it's late. We got to let you go, but yeah, it's been awesome. Thanks for being on. We're super pumped.
Thank you.
I can't wait to see you in week 5, but obviously there's a long way before then. So
Good
luck moving forward. Thanks for doing this. We appreciate it.
Thanks again for having it. It was nice to get the text, and I'm glad I'm still awake for it. Sorry about my refrigerator. My dad left the fridge open, so the alarm was going off. So again, real time is what happens when you go full live podcast. But thanks again for it. And good luck tomorrow, Ash.
Good luck. I appreciate it, man. Good luck the rest of the way, man. We'll be cheering you on.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
So let's do a little outside of West Michigan stuff here. And you and I talked about this a couple of weeks ago. Belleville without Bryce Underwood. We saw it today, and they struggled. I mean, I think this is a lot about Clarkston being really good.
Yeah, I think so too. But I do think when you look at it, when you bring in a new quarterback, right, there's going to be a learning curve no matter what. And Belleville, not having maybe that next guy in just yet, ready to play, and you play a really good Clarkston team in week 1. I mean, it was, I think the final score was 38-7. And I think that shows, I mean, Clarkston was a team. They were kind of that team in that late 2010s, won a couple of state championships there, kind of like maybe taking a step back-ish by their standards in these last few years. So yeah, maybe it's Clarkston just being that good. But I thought that was obviously, we talked about this about Belleville, that you could probably take a step back. But at the same time, ran into a really good Clarkston team for sure.
Another team we had in our top 15-ish in Division I, Lake Orion, they get beat by Northville. These are games that were played at Wayne State, both the Zenith Prep kickoff, both the game Clarkston and Belleville, and then followed by Lake Orion and Northville. So Northville with the 1-point win over Lake Orion. Certainly we're going to have some reshuffling here of our rankings. It wasn't a great night for me, statewide, locally. I had to rank.
You look at Northville, what they're doing with their program right now. Coach Luplow, who's the son of Claire's former head coach Luplow. What he's doing at Northville, I think he's doing a really nice job. He was the offensive coordinator at Brighton when they lost to Davison in the state championship. He gets the Northville job. And to me, he is, and from me knowing him, the little bit that I do, he's a worker, right? And he's going to do as much as he can in the summertime to get his team prepared and to have that week 1 matchup against Lake Orion. Hats off to Coach Luplow. I think that was an awesome job, man.
De La Salle, our buddy Dan Roan did get it done against Hamtramck 64-8. Orchard Lake St. Mary over Portage Northern 41-0. The one that really jumped out to me is Portage Central put it on East Lansing. That's 2 Division II teams. And obviously Jace Clarizio is not at East Lansing anymore. He's at Michigan State. But boy, I'll tell you what, I'm a big Mick Enders guy at Portage Central, and they look really good tonight. I mean, that's a team I think we need to take some notice in Division II there.
Absolutely. East Lansing, proud program, year in and year out, play very good football to see Portage Central go over there and get a running clock on them. I think that's a testament to Coach Enders and what he's done this offseason.
Yeah, DeWitt beats Hazlitt tonight, 21-3. Of course, that's a big rivalry. I think DeWitt's going to be contenders there in Division III. So that's some of the big games from around the state. Any other statewide matchups that you were looking at tonight?
We had Coach Weingartz on from Davison.
Oh, yeah.
They had a nice win against Roseville, and I think Roseville is a program. Coach Snowden, who's there, has done a really nice job. He's got a bunch of really good players at Roseville, and I think it was a hard-fought victory for Davison. And we're looking at week 2. The Davison De La Salle matchup's got to be one of the top matchups in the state right there. So obviously, Coach Roan getting a great victory against Hamtramck. And then Davison coming away against Roseville. That's going to present a huge week 2 matchup for those 2 programs.
Another team we're really high on this year, Rochester Adams. Also, we talked about Cam Gunsel, the quarterback at Ludington, committed to Ferris. I believe Rochester Adams quarterback also committed to Ferris State, and they beat Romeo tonight 39-7. By the way, West Bloomfield, I do want to give some credit here to West Bloomfield. They hammer Dearborn Fortson. Bloomfield was a team that went 5-5 last year. Obviously, they're always super talented. That's a team I didn't rank in my top 50 of my media poll I'm doing with Alex Pallone from Prep Red Zone. So I believe West Bloomfield will be making its way into my top 50 this week. Portage Central's going way up in my top 50. So certainly some shuffling there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a couple. That's a really nice win. I think that Fortson program is is kind of getting back on track here. And for West Bloomfield to go in there and do that, I think that's a huge win for them.
All right, how about Friday's games? Let's talk about it. Let's start with the big one, right? Northview West Catholic. You've had 3 weeks of practice. You've had scrimmage time. How are we feeling about Northview going to this game?
Yeah, I mean, I just look at it, you look at traditional matchups, right? In the 70s, 80s, and 90s, it was Northview West Catholic in game one, and we're proud to bring back that. I guess can't really call it a rivalry because we're just getting it renewed, right? Coach Grove, he's done a great job over there, and he's going to present a number of issues for us, both offensively and defensively. They got a great defense coordinator in Darren Smith. So we're going to have our hands full, but at the same time, I think we're trying to build this thing up here at Northfield a little bit to say, we can be perpetual winners. So I think we've had a great offseason. I think we've had a great training camp. We've had a great scrimmage. And I think, we're going to put our best foot forward and we'll see what happens on Friday night.
Anything jump out to you, surprise you in these first 3 weeks of practice in pads, like real practice?
Yeah, no, not necessarily. I mean, it's been a pretty typical camp. I think that we've, kind of taken the edge or the approach that our defensive coordinator, Bob Noack, and myself to say, we always need to be innovative, right? We can't just do the same things that we did last year. So we've changed things, right? We've tried to improve. And I think that's, if you're going to be a good football coach, I think you've got to say, you know what, man, how can I get better in the off season? How can we do things a little bit differently in training camp to make us better in week 9 or week 10? And I love how Coach Roan talked about that. You know what? I'm worried about the playoffs, and he's got that mentality. And I think that's really, a mind shift that we would really like to have at Northview and say, you know what, man, what can we do? So we try to be innovative in the way that we've practiced. We try to be innovative in some of our offensive schemes and our defensive schemes. So, hopefully it pays dividends on Friday night against West Catholic.
I saw North Muskegon and Palm Westphalia tonight, 35-6 Palm Westphalia. Very impressive. But I'll tell you, this is one thing and you help me out here. You know this way better than me. You worry about tackling early, right? North Muskegon didn't tackle well. That was a big problem for them. Is that a big concern early, especially early in the season, is how well you're going to tackle in this first game?
Yeah, absolutely. And with MHSA rules, you kind of get limited opportunities to tackle. So like when you do get those opportunities to tackle, you really got to coach kids up, right? And we spent a bunch of time in tackling circuits and all that, just like every other program does. But you do worry week one in the open field, like are our kids going to be able to tackle? Because there's some kids like, this is going to be the first time that they have a legit one-on-one open field tackle. And can they execute and can they get it done?
When you look across the field at Grady Augustin in this West Catholic offense, I mean, what jumps out to you?
Dynamic, how dynamic they can be. I mean, they can beat you running the ball. They can beat you throwing the ball. And we fully expect them to run the ball with their quarterback tomorrow with Grady. And he's athletic enough to say he can take one to the house. He can go 80 yards at any point in time that he wants to. So, you look at them and I think they're good up front. I think they're good schematically. I think they present a huge amount of problems. And obviously when you got a trigger man who's going into year 2 of his starting experience, it's going to present a challenge to anybody.
Did you ever find out if Braylon Jefferson's ever lost a football game?
I feel like he told me he just hadn't, but I did not confirm that with him. But he's a confident guy, and hopefully that trend continues.
Anything you asked Coach Beeds this, and I thought that was a great question. Anything jump out to you in the OK Black tonight when you looked at scores?
No, not necessarily. I think that matchup between Thornapple Kellogg and Hastings, it was a real tight ball game, and I think the world of Thornapple Kellogg because I think they've got a great quarterback. I think they run a great system, but obviously Hastings is in that same boat right there. You see East Grand Rapids kind of changing their offense a little bit, and they lost to what I think is a really good Lowell team. Those are some of the things that kind of jump out to me a little bit. And obviously Catholic Central's playing tomorrow in Indiana, I believe. Let's see, who else am I missing? Ottawa Hills lost to Holland today. And Holland Christian had a nice win against Allendale. So I don't know if that's necessarily anything jumped out per se, but I just think that again, you can't get too overzealous in what happens in week 1, because again, the biggest improvements are going to happen between week 1 and 2.
I'm glad you brought up that Hastings TK game because Hastings kicked a field goal in the last play to win 31-29. Yeah. Are you kidding me? Like, no way this can keep happening. Like, has anybody been more snake bitten by last second losses than Thornapple Kellogg? I mean, they're in every game And
Yeah.
one of these days, something's going to go their way, right? I mean,
No
man, you
question.
just got to feel for Coach Doc.
Yeah, no question. I mean, he's an outstanding football coach. They're a good football program, and sometimes the breaks just don't go your way. You get some cold cards, but you know what, man, you keep grinding through it, and you're going to create your own luck. And I think they're going to do that for sure this year.
Well, Hastings has been really good for several
Mm.
years now, and I think many people are expecting them to be a contender there in the Interstate 8, along with Harper Creek, who looked really good tonight. So, I know it's how many moral victories, how many can I turn in until I can get a real win? But man, it's just
Yeah,
crazy that I just TK so many tough losses for those guys.
for sure, man. Like I said, good football team, good football program, good football coach, man. They'll get that thing turned around.
All right, so more Friday games. You talked about it. Grimes Catholic Central is going to Lake Central, Indiana.
Mhm.
East Kentwood's going to Southfield. Right here in our own backyard, we've got South Christian and Grand Rapids
Man,
Christian. You like that matchup?
I do like that matchup. I think Grand Rapids Christian is trying to take some steps towards getting back in their winning ways. Obviously, South Christian without Vis. I mean, what are they going to look like? And I think that those two schools have a unique rivalry amongst themselves. And I think last year was a shootout. It was like 63-48 or something like that. Not a lot of defense was played. And I know Grand Rapids Christian has a new defense coordinator. They feel really good about what they're doing defensively. And obviously, Coach Danny Brown. I mean, the guy's unbelievable, man. All that guy does is just win, right? So I think it's going to be a great matchup between those two schools. And when it's a rivalry game, what do they say? Throw out the records, but I guess everyone's 0-0 right now. So it's a big week 1 game for those two schools for sure.
And Zeeland West, the Jeff Bullhouse era rolls in as they host Detroit Old Redford. I looked at that matchup and I thought, okay, is Zeeland West going to roll? I mean, Old Redford won 9 games last year.
Yeah, good team. I think Zeeland West with the way that they run their offense. It's like just kind of staying on track, staying on pace. Can they break one? As you continue to move down, I'm sure it'll be a very tight first quarter, but I can see Zeeland West running away with that thing.
So Bakita went to the scrimmage. West Catholic, Hudsonville,
East Grand
Grand
Rapids.
Rapids, and Zeeland West, and he came away super impressed with Zeeland West. Now, I'll be the first to tell you that I think Brett puts too much stock in the scrimmage. But what do I know? 5 of my top 10 lost, so I have nowhere to talk. But he put Zeeland West in his top 10. He was not going to have them in his top 10 until he saw him in the scrimmage. He really, really liked them, and I'm sure Zeeland West is going to be really good and probably prove me wrong. I got to wait and see without John Chilito. He's the man.
I know, man. And again, he's the godfather. I mean, he kind of, he learned the offense from Irv Sigler, and he's become the godfather of that offense. So when you lose someone of that caliber who can say, I can block inside trap, 7 different ways when the rest of us are just blocking it one way, and I'm sure he's passed along that knowledge to his staff and his assistants. But man, losing the godfather, I think that's a tough one.
All right, Cass Tech, Detroit, or Toledo Central Catholic. What a matchup that's going to be, huh?
And Central Catholic is 0-1, so they've already got a game under their belt, right? And so, I mean, you look at a Central Catholic team that's always pushing for state titles in Ohio. Cass Tech, a lot of hype around that program of them coming back. Boy, you talk about a big matchup right there. And is the game in Toledo?
I believe it is not. It is the Amazon Prep Kickoff Classic at Wayne State. I called it the Zenith. I guess they changed sponsors. Sorry. It's at Wayne State. So a pseudo home game for Cass Tech.
I love it, man. Cass Tech, right down the road there, playing at Tom Adams Stadium at Wayne State, my alma mater, man. I got to go with Cass Tech. I got to stay with the state of Michigan. I'm going with Cass Tech.
Me too. I mean, they're my number 1 team, and I get it. They're not playing a team from the state of Michigan, but still, I got Donald Tabron and Cass Tech. Chippewa Valley Catholic Central. We obviously love Detroit Catholic Central. Any chance Chippewa Valley gives them a run for their money?
I don't know. And obviously this is year 3 for their new coach, Terry Wilson over there at Chippewa Valley. I just think that Catholic Central, I mean, they've got a mindset. I've read a number of things about them here in the offseason, how they kind of feel like they have a chip on their shoulder. And I like Catholic Central in their week 1 matchup. I think they're going to get it going.
One other game I like tomorrow night, Friday night, St. Joe at Niles. Now, Niles went to the state championship game in Division 4. I'm a big fan of Andrew Pratley. I thought he did a great job when he was at Holland. He was at West Branch Oklahoma Heights before that. He's done a great job at St. Joe. I think St. Joe's got a really solid team, and they're taking on a team that was played at Ford Field last year. So I think that'll be a pretty interesting game as well.
I do think that's a huge matchup because I think St. Joe beat them last year, but 2 years ago they lost like 55-0, right? So it's like, which two teams, come to play on Friday night, and Scott Shaw, the head coach at Niles, doing an outstanding job there as well. And so you look at it, man. I mean, you're talking about two seasoned head coaches going head to head. I guess we're going to see who's got the better players then, I guess, here.
All right. Anything else? What do you got? Anything else?
I don't think so. I mean, I think this is a good week 1, and man, looking forward to week 2, man.
All right. Andrew Biedenbender, the head coach of Grand Haven, his Bucks start 1-0 win over Lakeshore. We can't thank him enough for being on with us tonight. I got to catch a plane to Santa Fe, New Mexico. You have a game to coach. Should we do one tomorrow night?
We'll see. I don't know. What do you think?
I'm in. I'll do it, but I don't. You good? Even
I'll
if
keep you posted. Yeah, let's plan on it. I'll keep you posted for sure.
All right. Well, that's it. We Thursday, week 1, the Local Legends podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in.